Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and this is a topic I absolutely feel a very strong need to set the record straight on. There are all sorts of people in the XRP community saying false things all over social media, and I certainly am not making the claim that people are necessarily intentionally lying. I mean, in theory, maybe some of them are, but I think mostly what's happened is that there's been a very broad misunderstanding of a document that was filed. And it's resulted, I'll just tell you at the outset, it's resulted in people mistakenly thinking that there's going to be a conclusion of between Ripple and the SEC in very short order, as if the court's demanding this. So there are some people that are expecting, regarding the appeal, some sort of case dismissal. I've seen that idea bandied about, and you'll see why. I'll explain this. I'll explain what actually is going on here. Or just some sort of settlement coming up. None of this is true. So I want to get that clear at the outset of the video, and then I'm going to show exactly why we got to this point. And again, it's not to yell at anybody in the XRP community that was incorrectly displaying this information. I just think it was a misunderstanding, but I've seen a ton of accounts on social media platform X spouting this incorrect information. And then I also have something, there's another thing that I got to set the record straight on here. There are people that are, and look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but there are people, I just respectfully think that they're wrong, that are saying that, Ripple can't be trusted, it's destroying the community because of certain individuals at Ripple that have certain political beliefs, and I just got to push back on this. And we also have perspective from, well, part of it I actually covered in a video yesterday, what Chris Larson has had to say about the current election process here. Also got something from Brad Garlinghouse, though, which is new. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so here's a headline from CoinGape. XRP lawsuit. U.S. court orders Ripple to consider alternative resolution. So before I even run through part of this article, which I do want to do, because they seem to have pretty accurately covered what was going on, this was misunderstood. There's still people that thought that this had something to do with the SEC, and it simply does not. XRP community member Sherry thankfully set the record straight here. She shared the most recent document, which was filed just the other day, and she wrote the following. I have had a few people asking me about the case that is taking place in the Ninth Circuit, so I figure it'll be easier to post the information on it. If you've seen this, and so folks, if you're on social media and you're in the XRP community, you've probably come across this if you've been online within the last 24 hours or so. But no, this has nothing to do with the SEC. As she properly cites in her thread, that it is the Zakhanov v. Ripple Labs case. So this is the class action lawsuit, which stems back to, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say 2018. It certainly started well before the SEC attacked Ripple, and as a result, all XRP holders. But she's wrote here, just know it has nothing to do with the SEC. And then she highlights the parties that are involved. And then she wrote, key things to note are, this is private litigation. The plaintiff is known for bringing about frivolous lawsuits. There is no connection to, or bearing on, the appeal pending in the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit between Ripple and the SEC. Okay, so what was this about, though? And you'll see very quickly why people were saying what they were saying. It's just people seem to forget pretty easily, and again, I understand why, that there are other lawsuits that Ripple's involved in. It's not just the SEC that they've had to deal with here. So anyway, the piece from CoinGape reads as follows. XRP lawsuit. In the latest development in the Ripple Labs Inc. litigation, defendant CEO Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple Labs, and XRP2 LLC have requested the court to issue final judgment on plaintiff class action claims and to stay on individual state law claim until resolution. The court has issued an order asking the parties to consider an alternative resolution. In the latest court filing, Judge Phyllis Hamilton affirmed the parties about their joint motion to seek final judgment and stay in the XRP lawsuit. However, the judge ordered that the parties need to consider an alternative resolution of filing a voluntary dismissal without prejudice of the remaining individual claims. So there you go. That's exactly why. Because it was worded, so seeking a dismissal, and so people are like, oh, look, the SEC, the appeal, it could all just be dismissed, and within the next week or so. No, what was said is by this Judge Hamilton, in a separate case, please seek to find a resolution between these parties. Now, I'm not confident that's necessarily going to happen. I mean, who knows, maybe, but I kind of doubt that. But it has nothing to do with the SEC. Furthermore, this doesn't impact XRP at all. Nothing in this case or anything in the actual appeal process with the SEC and Ripple, none of it impacts XRP itself. I understand why there's interest. It's because we've been in the trenches for years. I'm still interested in it as a result. But the good news is, just want to say again, it's not going to. Nothing here is going to impact XRP. It has legal clarity, and we're still in this incredible situation where we're about to see, in all likelihood, I think anyway, the continuation of this bull market with ultimately a euphoric blow-off top. And XRP has never been so perfectly situated. So I'm certainly excited for that. Here we have a post from crypto influencer Wendy O. Shared the following with her 394,000 followers on social media platform X. And look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't think this is the best take, so I'm just going to respectfully push back against this concept a bit and share my own thoughts, but everybody is entitled to think whatever they want to. Some people will agree with me, some will think that I'm wrong, and that's fine. My ideas are challenged every single day, and I encourage that. Think for yourself, tell me what you think. The only time I don't like it is if people are unreasonably rude. That's not fun then. But I have no problem with anybody ever telling me if they think that my perspective on something is wrong. And I especially want to hear that if I am wrong. Or maybe you've got something that's opinion-based and you can sway me. Well, yeah, if you've got a compelling case, then I want to hear that. This is an instance where I don't think that this perspective just makes any sense. So there's this video clip that was shared of Chris Larsen, who of course is a co-founder of Ripple, and he's former CEO of Ripple, by the way. He was CEO before Brad Garlinghouse, and he's currently just on the board of directors. And so he was interviewed the other day on CNBC, and I actually talked about that in a video just yesterday. Part of what he said, it was quoted in this Cointelegraph article, so I'll just be brief here. Here's a relevant portion. During this interview, Chris Larsen said the following, and mind you, he has donated at this point something like $11 or $12 million worth of XRP to support the Harris campaign. And so here's what he said, though. I'm just really, really confident that this is going to be a completely different approach than, I'll just say it, the failed policy that the Biden administration brought when it came to crypto and digital assets. Because frankly, I think they just weren't paying attention, and they sort of outsourced it to Senator Warren, and it was a disaster. But that is not going to be how the Harris campaign approaches this. I'm extremely confident in that. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I already said my piece on this other day, and I just find it to be completely absurd. So, you're confident that Harris is going to do well on crypto, even though she's part of the administration, the Biden-Harris administration, the one that's in power right now, the one that he says wasn't paying attention to it, because reasons she's just going to be great on it if she's elected as president. That makes no sense. Where's this extreme confidence coming from? It does not compute to me. It simply does not. I think it's silly. He's entitled to his opinions. That's perfectly fine. As it pertains to this, I just don't see it. And I went into a fair amount of depth sharing all of my opinions, so I'm not going to go any further than that. But suffice it to say, I certainly think, and I'm assuming probably most of you feel similarly, that's absurd. I'm assuming I'm pretty much preaching to the choir on that point. But whatever you think about that, it sure as hell is not the position of Ripple, the company. And so Wendy O here, I'm going to share with you what she typed, and she shared this, the CNBC interview, a clip of it anyway. She's blaming Ripple. She's clearly, and I didn't know this about her, but apparently she's just not a fan of Ripple itself at all, which isn't to say she does or doesn't like XRP. But, if your stance is that whatever Chris Larsen says, somebody who's, just on the board right now, whatever he says, that's representative of Ripple, that does not compute. That doesn't make logical sense. He's just a person with an opinion. And so he says, my heart goes out to the retail XRP army. I will never understand how you can support an entity that has tried to destroy your livelihood and the livelihood of your community. Whoa. So I read that and I was like, what? For a number of reasons. Ripple has been a force for good, unquestionably, within the XRP ecosystem. But even if you disagree, why exactly your heart's going out to the retail XRP army? Have you not noticed that whatever Ripple does, no matter how good for XRP, it doesn't even impact the price of XRP. So what are we flipping about anyway, even if this were representative of what Ripple thinks, on the whole? What it doesn't even impact the price anyway. But here was my response. So I wrote this last night to Wendy. I said, Ripple donated to support John Deaton's campaign. Ripple's chief legal officer donated to support the Trump campaign. Larson is just a board member whose politics are on the left and not representative of Ripple the company. It's normal for a large company to have high-ranking executives with diverse political perspectives who donate to opposing political parties. Ripple has actively sought to support the XRP ecosystem and XRP community from the beginning. And folks, that's just a matter of fact right there. There are people high-ranking that feel that Harris should be in charge, and there are high-ranking people at Ripple who feel that Trump should be in charge. Them's the facts, folks. So then don't pick whichever one you don't like and say that that's what Ripple is represented. No, it's just not true. And whatever Ripple wants to do, they're not harming our livelihood. If anything, they're doing good things for the XRP ecosystem, broadly speaking, in terms of supporting monetarily. But even then, like I said a second ago, it's not whatever good news Ripple has, it's not propping up the price of XRP. That's for damn sure. As I've stated, and I think this is hilarious because it's absurd, the SEC has more power to impact the price of XRP than Ripple ever has. The SEC controls the price of XRP more than Ripple. That's insane, but it's sadly true. So it's what it is here. Then there's this headline from the Crypto Basic, and they're highlighting something that Brad Garlinghouse had to say about this. The headline here, Ripple CEO and other crypto leaders discuss elections' impact on U.S. crypto regulation. So let's go to the part about Brad Garlinghouse. Reads as follows. Garlinghouse believes that the current administration's regulatory approach is nearing its end, with hopes of more constructive engagement under the next president, whether Harris or Trump. He notes bipartisan momentum in Congress for crypto-friendly legislation, emphasizing the U.S.'s need to catch up with nations like the UK and Singapore, which have clear crypto frameworks. Garlinghouse remains neutral on the presidential candidates, but expresses confidence that the reign of terror over crypto regulation led by the SEC chairman Gary Gensler will conclude soon. Garlinghouse also predicts a rise in crypto ETFs, including XRP, which could bolster institutional involvement and drive broader market adoption. He also sees the stablecoin market as poised for growth, aligning with Ripple's plans for its own stablecoin. Okay, so why would we look at what a member of the board says, Chris Larson, and say, that's what Ripple thinks, when if you just want to go to the head of this thing, which would be the CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, he's like, yeah, I'm not picking sides. So which is it? Is what Brad Garlinghouse says, is that the official position of Ripple, which is they don't have one? Or is it Chris Larson, who is just a board member? Look, and on top of that, look at the actions. Like, if anything, Ripple has supported a Republican, John Deaton. So if you want, that's the closest to favoritism you're going to find, and I sure as hell don't mind that because John Deaton's incredible and he's very pro-crypto, obviously, and that's in Ripple's best interest. But, I'll say this, anytime there's an executive or the leader of a company that when asked about politics is like, yeah, I'm just not going to pick sides. I respect that, actually. I really, I frankly would rather have regular businesses not picking sides in terms of politics. I'd really rather them just not. That, personal preference, call me crazy, I'd rather just not have that. You're just going to alienate people anyway. It's stupid. It's dumb. And so here you have Brad Garlinghouse just doing that. He is just going right down the, okay, fine. He's not picking. So I'm sure he's got his own, of course, like every human, he's got his opinion, whether it's on the left or the right politically. Okay. But he's not saying it, and that's perfectly fine. Either way, it's not Ripple's official stance to support either candidate, period. So I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because if anything I say are right, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.